We'll now go to question time. Senator Duniam.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Early Childhood Education, Senator Walsh. Given the state and territory governments are responsible for the majority of urgent reforms that need to be made to Australia's broken childcare system to ensure we're properly protecting our kids, when will childcare laws across Australia be fixed?
Thank you, Senator Duniam. Minister Walsh.
Thank you very much, President, and thank you, Senator Duniam, for the question. It has been a really distressing time in early childhood education as these devastating allegations have been brought forward, and it's a really difficult time for all of those families of children affected, those families who have children in early childhood education and care, and really the whole community who is watching what's going on. We think it's really important, Senator Duniam, that we use every lever that we have to make sure that we can keep children safe in early childhood education and care, and make sure that parents have the confidence that they're safe too. We have introduced, as you know, really important Commonwealth legislation to cut funding from those providers who put safety ahead of profit. And at the same time, we are working shoulder to shoulder with the states and territories.
Senator Duniam.
Just on a point of order on relevance, I asked specifically about the laws that are to come into effect from a state and territory point of view. I'm happy with the federal stuff, but would be keen on the rest.
I'll draw the minister to that part of the question. Senator Walsh.
Thanks, Senator Duniam. And I had just come to the states and territories on what is a really important issue for children and for families. We are working with the states and territories right now, shoulder to shoulder. We think what families want to see right now is all of us working together, and we will have at the next standalone urgent Education Ministers meeting in August a strong and significant package of child safety reforms because, as you know, every child deserves to be safe in early education.
Thank you, Minister Walsh. Senator Duniam, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. By what specific date have you asked state and territory ministers to have these urgent reforms in place?
Thank you, Senator Duniam. Minister Walsh.
Thank you, President. Thanks, Senator Duniam. So I attended my first Education Ministers meeting at the end of June. And at that meeting, both Minister Clare and myself tasked officials with coming up with an urgent plan for reform. We also scheduled a standalone Education Ministers meeting for August, solely focused on this package of significant and strong reforms, including the first ever nationwide register of early childhood educators.
Minister Walsh, please resume your seat. Senator Ruston.
Thank you, President. On direct relevance, Senator Duniam's question was very, very tight. He asked simply by what date can Australian families expect to know when these measures are going to be put in place?
I think the minister is being directly relevant to the question. Order, order. I am giving a response. Order. Order. If a senator stands to make a point of order, I expect senators to be silent as I respond to it. The minister is being directly relevant. Thank you, Senator Ruston. Minister Walsh, please continue.
Thank you. And you've asked for dates. We had a meeting at the end of June. We organised an urgent second meeting, which will be towards the end of August.
Thank you, Minister. The time for responding has expired. Senator Duniam, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Minister, have you or have you not asked state and territory ministers to have these urgent reforms and improvements to laws to protect our children completed and in place by a certain date? And if you haven't, why haven't you?
Minister Walsh.
Senator Duniam, Thanks for the question. I think this issue of keeping children safe in early childhood education and making sure that parents have the confidence that they are safe is absolutely an issue that should be above politics. And we have really appreciated on this side of the chamber your bipartisanship and your offer of ongoing bipartisanship for the reforms that we're working on, both in terms of the legislation and what will be a strong and significant package of reforms brought by our education
Minister
ministers.
Walsh, please resume your seat. Senator Cash.
Thank you. And the point of order is again in relation to direct relevance. We all agree the reforms are urgent, which is, President, why we have asked by what date has the minister given to the state, and in place by a certain date have you asked them this?
Minister Wong.
Thank you. And I would make the point first on this, what we thought was a bipartisan set of propositions.
Have you got a point of order?
I do have a point of order, which is the minister is... I'm speaking to the point of order. The minister is setting out the process by which these urgent reforms are being progressed. And I would have thought it was self-evident to the opposition that that is directly relevant to the question that was asked. But more importantly, I would have thought it was something deserving of bipartisan support.
Thank you. Senator Cash.
Again, on the point of order, with all due respect to Senator Wong as Leader of the Government in the Senate, again, the question was quite specific in relation to, has the minister asked the state and territory ministers to have what we all agree are urgent reforms to protect our children completed, President, by a certain date?
I understand very clearly the question. Senator Cash, it is my view that the minister is being relevant, but I will point her to that specific part of the question. Minister Walsh.
Thank you, President. Officials and states and territories are in absolutely no doubt that these reforms are urgent. It's why we've called a special meeting to consider those reforms.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Polley.
President, my question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations, Senator Watt. Prior to the election, big retailers like Kmart, Big W and Costco, as well as businesses in the clerical and banking sector, applied to scrap penalty rates for workers earning less than $60,000. This move would have sent Australians' pay packets backwards and meant an overall reduction in their wage of up to $5,000 every year. What steps did the Albanese Labor government take to oppose this application, and what will the re-elected Labor government do to protect workers' wages?
Thank you, Senator Polley. Minister Watt.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Polley, who, along with every other Labor senator, has a very proud record of standing up for the penalty rates and wages of Australian workers. Well, as Senator Polley will remember, the first term of the Albanese government, one of our core aims was to ensure that Australians would earn more and keep more of what they earn. In our first term, the Albanese government delivered landmark workplace relations reforms. They still haven't heard the message that Australians want to earn more and keep more of what they earn. In our first term, the Albanese government delivered landmark workplace relations reforms with a clear goal of getting wages moving for Australian workers, and that's exactly what we achieved. We addressed loopholes that undermine principles of fairness and improved access to secure jobs and better pay. We've reinvigorated enterprise bargaining, resulting in more cooperative, productive workplaces. We put gender equality at the heart of the workplace relations framework, helping drive the gender pay gap to its lowest level on record. We improved workplace conditions and protections across the board. And in every annual wage review since taking office, we've backed minimum wage increases, with our most recent submission calling for an economically sustainable real wage increase. And I'm pleased to see that from the 1st of July, minimum wages have been increased by 3.5% ahead of inflation. Now, these were significant and important reforms in our first term, but we know that there's more to do. And right now, the modern awards safety net can be undermined. Currently, penalty rates and overtime rates in modern awards can be rolled up into a single rate of pay that leaves some employees worse off. And there are currently cases on foot where employers in the retail, clerical and banking sectors are seeking to trade away the penalty rates of lower-paid workers on awards. Our government doesn't think that's fair. It's why we intervened in those cases to block that from happening, and it's why just today the Minister for Employment and Workplace Relations, Minister Rishworth, has introduced legislation to protect penalty rates, and we expect to see the whole House support that.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Polley, first supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. It is understood that penalty rates are a vital part of modern awards safety net, which supports some of the lowest-paid workers in our country. But why do penalty rates and overtime rates matter so much to these
Senator
workers?
Polley, resume your seat. Senators, particularly those on my left, there needs to be silence while the question is asked. Senator Polley, please continue.
Want me to start from the beginning?
No.
But why do penalty and overtime rates matter so much to these workers? And why is it so important that the Albanese Labor government's legislation is passed without delay?
Sorry, Minister Watt. I'm not quite sure, when I asked for silence, why there wasn't silence. Minister Watt.
Thank you, President. Well, I'm not surprised to see members of the opposition moaning and groaning about this topic, because we know they've never met a worker who depends on their penalty rates to pay their bills. And we know that they still haven't heard the message that Australians voted for a government that ensured that they are earning more and keeping more of what they earn, and they rejected an opposition who was about cutting pay and making work more insecure. Now, penalty rates, I've got some news for you. Penalty rates and overtime rates matter to working Australians.
Order.
Employees relying on penalty rates are more likely to be women, to work part-time, be under the age of 35 and more likely to be employed on a casual basis. We're talking about people like Emily, a retail worker from New South Wales, expecting her— oh, you're groaning. You don't want to hear about workers who depend on their penalty rates. How disrespectful. How disrespectful. You don't want to hear about people like Emily, a retail worker who says that her penalty rates—
I'm sorry. Order. 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 I foolishly thought that if I asked for silence for the question, I might get silence for the answers. Obviously, no one got that message. There needs to be silence. Please continue, Minister Watt.
Well, Labor wants to hear from people like Emily, who says that her penalty rates let her save a little for her bubba and to help her move into make sure her new little family has a roof over their heads. We're standing up for people like Emily. You might not.
Senator Polley, second supplementary.
It is clear that protecting penalty rates—
Please start again, Senator Polley.
Thank you. It's clear that protecting penalty rates is very important to millions of Australian workers. During the election campaign, the Albanese Labor government made protecting penalty rates a key pillar of our pitch to the Australian people for re-election. Minister, can you outline the response to that and why the government has taken this approach?
Thank you, Senator Polley. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President, and thanks, Senator Polley. And she is full of policy that supports working people in Australia. And I'm sure, like Senator Polley and everyone else over here, during the campaign I was incredibly fortunate to join retail, banking and hospitality workers outside Stafford Shopping Centre on Brisbane's north side to launch this policy on behalf of the government. And I can assure you that the announcement was well received by those workers and quite obviously was well received by the Australian voting public. But at the time it was clear the coalition took a different view on penalty rates. Former Liberal leader Peter Dutton, remember him, confirmed it when he said, "We don't propose any departure from the current arrangements." And the person over there who kept predicting we'd returned into the dark ages was proven wrong by the Australian people.
Minister Watt, please resume your seat. Order. 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 Minister Wong.
During both the primary and the first supplementary, I did let it go, but Senator Cash might just want to draw a breath from the interjections while Minister Watt is answering.
I need all senators to refrain from interjecting, please. Minister Watt, please continue.
Thank you, President. Well, it would appear that from the coalition statements they still haven't heard the message from the election. We saw this morning Shadow Minister Tim Wilson, remember him, called our plan to protect penalty rates distressing and disturbing. The Liberals haven't changed. They haven't heard the message that people want to earn more.
Expired. Senator Patterson.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Treasurer, Senator Gallagher. In a leaked recording of comments to the Park Orchards Ratepayers Association in the lead-up to the last election, the now member for Deakin, Matt Gregg, said in relation to Labor's proposed on unrealised gains on superannuation, "The briefing I've received is that that's not Labor policy, and I was advised it's not Labor policy." Mr Gregg went on to say, "I'm not going to commit to that policy position that's been put to me because my understanding is it's not my party's policy." Did the member for Deakin mislead his new constituents, or will the government now abandon this unfair super tax grab?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Order. 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 Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President. I thank Senator Patterson for the question and congratulate him on his new responsibilities. And I also congratulate the new member for Deakin. I had the opportunity to visit the electorate of Deakin during the election campaign, and it's clear that the member for Deakin, the new member for Deakin, received the support of his local community, and we're very pleased with the result from the federal campaign. In relation to taxation policy, we've been very clear about what our tax policies are. We went to the election wanting to lower taxes for 14 million Australians. If you remember that the opposition, those that are seemingly so concerned around tax policy now, went to the election wanting to raise taxes for 14 million Australians. There was hard to believe, but that was their position during the election campaign.
Minister Gallagher, please resume your seat. Senator, order, order, order. Senator Patterson is on his feet. Order on my right. Minister Watt, I've just called order. Senator Patterson.
Mr President, I did want to give the minister a reasonable opportunity to come close to the question, but she's not yet addressed the comments that the member for Deakin made to his constituents, saying that the unrealised tax on unrealised gains was not Labor policy. Did he lie, or are you abandoning it?
Thank you, Senator. Senator Patterson, you need to withdraw that comment.
I withdraw.
I also remind senators that when you are calling a point of order, please get straight to the point of order. There's no need to make comments around your question, and it's often not necessary to repeat the question. Just be clear about the point of order. I think the minister is being relevant, Senator Patterson, and I will continue to listen very carefully. For me to listen carefully, I need to have silence. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank you, President. I did refer to Labor's tax policies that we took to the last election and that we will implement in government, and that is directly relevant to the question that Senator Patterson's asked. And I can understand they're still a bit sore about losing the electorate of Deakin, and can I list all the other electorates they lost as well? There was a number of them. And I think critical to that, the loss, that they are clearly still mourning over the other side of the chamber, is the policies on tax that they took to the election, which was to increase tax for 14 million Australians. And people understood, and they understood the choice, and they made that choice, and they elected Labor members, and in particular in relation to this question, into the electorate of Deakin. Now, our tax policy was clear. Our policy on high balance super accounts has been clear. We took it to the election. We said we would. We've had the election, and that remains our policy.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Patterson, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Host Plus Chairman Damien Frawley has said the proposed tax on unrealised gains was a, quote, punitive outcome and a disincentive for members to invest in productive, high-quality and even nation-building opportunities. Does the minister share the concerns of experts such as Mr Frawley, as well as your own member for Deakin?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you. Well, we've been clear on what our tax policy is. I've been watching some of the contributions that have been made since the election around high balance super accounts. There's obviously been a fair bit of commentary written about it, in particular in the Australian and in the Financial Review. So I am aware of contributions that have been made from a range of stakeholders. We consulted heavily on this on the high balance super accounts. If you recall, over the last parliament, there was opportunities for people to provide their contributions at that point in time. We didn't manage to get it through the Senate at that in the previous term, but it remains Labor policies, and we would be looking to getting it through the parliament, this term and as soon as we can.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Patterson, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. The Australian reports this morning of concerns from Labor MPs who, quote, hate this tax. They join former Prime Minister Paul Keating, former Treasury Secretary Ken Henry, former RBA Governor Philip Lowe, former ACTU Secretary Bill Kelty and even current ACTU Secretary Sally McManus in slamming the government's unfair super tax grab. Why is the government stubbornly persisting with a friendless tax on unrealised capital gains?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you. And I did read the article in the Australian this morning, and indeed have been following their campaign against the high balance super tax concessions. I would remind those in this chamber that this. The proposal by the government, the high balance super tax policy that we have, affects about 0.5% of people with super balances over $3 million, and it's still concessional rates of tax, just not as concessional. So I think we need to get a bit of perspective here. Some of the contribution, and I understand the Australian is running a campaign against it. It's pretty obvious. We've seen contributions being made from a range of stakeholders about elements of the design of the tax policy. It remains Labor's policy, and we think it's a modest and sensible change to the super concessions arrangement to ensure that super remains fair for all.
Has expired. Senator Shoebridge.
My question is to the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Senator Wong. The Albanese government is trying to appease an increasingly belligerent United States, having recently provided an additional $800 million to the US military as part of AUKUS, bringing the total money paid to Donald Trump under AUKUS to $1.6 billion, right at the same time that Donald Trump has put AUKUS under a blowtorch with a review that might see the subs cancelled. What possible justification can the government provide as to why we've given Donald Trump $1.6 billion for nuclear submarines we may never get, with no strings attached and no clawback?
Thank you, Senator Shoebridge. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. Well, I think the Greens political party's position on AUKUS is well known. I think the Greens political party's position on the US alliance is well known. You're entitled to those views. They are views that do not accord with the views of the majority of the Australian people. And they are views that we do not share in this government, and I would hazard a guess, I would hope, those on the opposite side would not share. Now, well, I'm talking about AUKUS, and you've made your views on that very clear, Senator Shoebridge. Well, are you going to keep interrupting? I like the way standing orders. You're happy with standing orders for yourself, but not for anybody else. Is that how it works?
Yeah, it is over there.
You done?
Order.
Oh, through the chair, Senator. I'm pleased that you are again seeking to impose standing orders on everybody else that you don't impose on your members. That you don't
Minister
impose
Wong.
on their members.
Minister Wong,
Far
please
out,
resume your seat. Order. 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 Senator Shoebridge.
President, I just ask you to direct the minister to provide an answer to my question about the $1.6 billion paid to Donald Trump under AUKUS.
Thank you, Senator Shoebridge. If you want the minister to answer your question, don't make interjections because, as you know, the minister is also entitled to respond to interjections. Minister Wong.
Well, thank you. I will come to the question, but I think the hypocrisy of the Greens is clearly on display, that they believe the standing order should be used to protect them, but not anybody else nor any other standard in the chamber. And we all see that, Senator Shoebridge. You dish it out, but you can't.
Please resume your seat. Senator Shoebridge.
President, I've been sitting here in silence waiting for an answer, and what we got from the minister, is not relevant. You know it's not relevant.
Senator Shoebridge, resume your seat. The minister had just stood up and I'm listening, and I'm sure she's going to come to your question. Thank you for listening. Minister Wong.
Thank you. We are committed to AUKUS because we believe it is an important contribution to strategic balance in the region, and that matters to Australia. It matters to the peace, prosperity and stability of the region. We are invested in AUKUS because we believe that hard deterrence is an important part of preserving stability, alongside the reassurance that can be provided through engagement and diplomacy. So everything we do, whether it is through the AUKUS partnership, through our engagement with ASEAN and through the East Asia Summit, whether it is our alliance with the United States, our special strategic partnership with Japan, our deep friendship and cooperation with the Republic of Korea, our work with India, our work through the Quad, our work in the Pacific.
Thank
it
you,
is
Minister
all about
Wong.
stability and peace in our region.
Expired. Senator Shoebridge, first supplementary.
Thanks, President. Minister, we've been told time and time again by Labor that AUKUS is based on shared values with the United States. How do we share values with the United States under Donald Trump that has withdrawn funding from UNESCO for alleged divisive social and cultural causes, pulled out of the Paris Agreement on climate and caused chaos with its traditional defence and trade partners around the world? How do we share values with that regime?
Thank you, Senator Shoebridge. Minister Wong.
AUKUS is about Australia's interests. It's about Australia's interests. It's about what are our interests in an era that is increasingly complex and contested. It is a capability that goes to Australia's interests, and it is a partnership, I would argue, in all three countries' interests. So we are very clear. We make decisions in Australia's national interest, and that includes working with others. And that is what AUKUS is, but that is not the sum of all that we do. Now, Senator, you have made your views on AUKUS very clear. You are opposed to it. You're entitled to that.
Minister Wong, please resume. Senator Allman-Payne.
Point of order. Could I please request that answers be directed through the chair?
Thank you, Senator Allman-Payne. I'll remind the minister to order. Order. Minister Wong, direct your responses to me.
Australian Greens political party is that they have made clear that they have double standards when it comes to standing orders in this place. They want standing orders for them, but they are not prepared to respect them for others or for the rest of the chamber. We all know that. Here we go again.
Minister Wong, please resume your seat. Senator Whish-Wilson.
Order on relevance, President. It's obviously easier to uphold standing orders than it is international law in relation to Gaza.
Senator Whish-Wilson, I have order. I cautioned the chamber earlier about making a point of view, not a political statement, or not adding to the question yourself. I'm not sure if you were here during the moment I said that, Senator Whish-Wilson, but it does apply to you. Political points are not points of order. Minister Wong.
Our decision to continue to invest in AUKUS is about Australia's national interests, and we stand by it.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Shoebridge, second supplementary.
Thanks, President. Minister, this government has refused to call out Donald Trump on his extreme proposals for Gaza, his illegal unilateral bombing of Iran, and has now given in to the US on beef imports. Is this all just a play to keep the disastrous AUKUS deal on life support?
Thank you, Senator Shoebridge. Minister Wong.
Well, there are three erroneous statements in that question, at least. I'll go to the third one. In relation to beef, I would make the point that we have gone through a rigorous, science-based, risk-based assessment over the last decade. The process for this was in fact commenced under the coalition government. The announcement does allow for expanded access to include beef sourced from cattle born in Canada or Mexico, which is legally imported and slaughtered in the United States. The decision is consistent with what we said all along, that we will not compromise on biosecurity. The Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry is satisfied the strengthened control methods put in place by the US effectively manage biosecurity risks. We stand for open and fair trade, and Australia's cattle industry
Thank you,
has
Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Cox.
Thank you, President. My question is to our fabulous Minister for Indigenous Affairs, Senator McCarthy. We know the Albanese Labor government was re-elected with a mandate to deliver jobs in remote communities. Can the minister outline the work being undertaken to deliver on that commitment?
Order. Order. Senator Scarr. Order. Order. Minister McCarthy.
Wonderful answer that I have, Madam President. I certainly thank the senator for her question, the first from our government benches. I know that the Labor Party has gained a fierce advocate for First Nations people, and I certainly welcome Senator Cox to the team. When I took on the role of minister just over 12 months ago, Madam President, I made my priority clear: jobs, jobs, jobs. From Gallawinku to Kununurra, Ceduna to Arakoon, and you're very welcome to travel with me, Senator Little. I know First Nations Australians want employment, they want economic empowerment, but we know the reality of the job market in remote Australia means government assistance is necessary. And that's why we've developed our $707 million Remote Jobs and Economic Development, or RJED program. We are in the process of creating 3,000 jobs. These jobs provide the dignity of real work with proper pay and conditions, because First Nations people deserve nothing less. Round 1 of RJED was finalised earlier this year and has resulted in the funding of 650 jobs with 100 different employers, and that builds on the 280 jobs created in the new jobs trial, which has been transitioned to that program. The second round received over 400 applications from employers wanting to create jobs, many seeking to fill multiple positions. President, the outcome of round 2 is being communicated to applicants as we speak. Successful applicants will be able to hire local people in their communities to work in jobs they want to do, with fair wages and conditions, including superannuation and annual leave. We are getting on with delivering on our election commitments.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Cox, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Minister, can you outline the benefits of employment to remote communities and the importance of dignity of work? How is the Albanese Labor government ensuring the program is flexible and responsive to the diversity of these communities and their needs?
Thank you, Senator Cox. Minister McCarthy.
Thanks, President. The senator is right. As someone who visits remote communities throughout the year, I can tell you there are different needs and aspirations in desert country as there is in sea country, and there are different potential industries based on the landscapes, the weather or access to resources. And key to this commitment, President, is flexibility. This program is funding job creation in tourism, agriculture, media, community services and maintenance, culture and the arts. I was able to start a radio station in Borroloola in my hometown under the former CDEP program, and that was a program that was abolished by the Coalition. It's why I was so encouraged to meet Nathalia in Kununurra, who's now working for Warringurri Radio in the East Kimberley and who's got a job thanks to our new program. And this government is building a strong future for people like Nathalia and for our remote communities.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Cox, second supplementary.
Fabulous work there, Minister. The Albanese government prioritises employment opportunities. It's surely all Australians can earn more and keep more of what they earn. Can the minister explain how this is reflected in the new scheme? How do programs she outlines differ from the government's CDP scheme, and why has the Albanese Labor government changed that approach?
Order. Order. Minister McCarthy.
These guys do not like to be happy, President. They don't want people to be happy.
Sour.
You know, the contrast between that side and this side is we want to see people with dignity in work. We believe in that, and we believe in, well, you believe in income management and punitive work for the dole practices. So when you abolished the CDEP, you ran a wrecking ball You did, through communities, right across communities. And we are still trying to fix the mess from that period. We are. We are working much more than you did with our communities, with our regional remote areas. Senator Price, I haven't seen you in any of these communities, so you wouldn't know what's going on out there.
There's no sky after dark there.
So out of the ashes of the Coalition's mess, we are building a program that will provide opportunities and empowerment to First Nations people.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Payman.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Early Childhood Education, Senator Walsh. The issue of childcare has been a topic of national debate in recent weeks. The safety of children is very important to us all. What has received less attention is actually the effect that having a child today have on parents. Many parents want to be able to raise their kids at home, but economic realities mean they're forced to enrol their children in early childhood education while they work, if they can find a centre available. With rising mortgages, utilities and other cost of living factors, how is this government supporting parents to stay at home if they choose to with their kids?
Thank you, Senator Payman. Minister Walsh.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Senator Payman. This is the first meeting of this Parliament during which paid parental leave has just gone to 24 weeks. We understand that families want to spend more time with their children when they're babies. And this was a great Labor reform that started under the Rudd-Gillard government when paid parental leave was introduced for the first time at 18 weeks. And it sat there at 18 weeks for about 10 years under those opposite until we returned to government and brought paid parental leave back to 24 weeks starting in July and 26 weeks next year. So we understand that families, mums and dads, want to spend more time at home with their new babies. We also understand, Senator Payman, that the realities of modern families are that often both parents need to work. They need to go back to work to support themselves and their families. And quality, affordable early education is absolutely critical for that. It's critical for mums who want to go back to work. It's critical for families to help them pay their bills. It's critical for mums and dads to participate in the labour market. And there are also, of course, Senator Payman, huge benefits for children of quality early childhood education. We know that it's a game changer for young children to participate in quality early learning that sets them up for school and for life.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Payman, first supplementary.
Thank you, Senator Walsh. Minister Clare has said that there are overwhelmingly higher levels of quality care at not-for-profit childcare centres. Despite this, 90% of childcare centres are run for-profit, many of which have been found to be deficient in recent times. We want quality care. We want our children not to be neglected and their nutrition to be intact. So what actions are the government taking to encourage and support not-for-profit care?
Thank you, Senator Payman. Minister Walsh.
Thanks so much, Senator Payman. It's right that 2/3 of early childhood education is provided in Australia today by for-profit providers. And I want to reassure families that the vast majority of those providers are meeting and exceeding our national quality standards. We are concerned in this discussion about safety and quality about a small minority of providers who we believe are putting profit ahead of child safety. That is exactly why we have a bill before the Parliament right now to allow us to withdraw Commonwealth childcare subsidy from those providers who put profit ahead of safety. More broadly, this government wants to see more quality, not-for-profit, early learning. That's why we have a $1 billion fund to invest in just that.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Payman, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. I appreciate what you're doing, Minister. Last year, the Productivity Commission completed its review of early childhood education and care. The report contained many recommendations, including a review of the National Quality Framework. Will the government implement this recommendation and review the National Quality Framework, given its concern, and putting the legislation before the Senate next week?
Thank you, Senator Payman. Minister Walsh.
Thank you very much, Senator Payman. The National Quality Framework is considered to be world-leading. The question that we have ahead of us at the moment is whether providers are following the National Quality Framework. We think the standards are strong, but we can see that enforcement needs to be better. That's why we're working shoulder to shoulder with the states and territories on a strong and significant package of reform. Those reforms include the first nationwide register of early childhood educators, and also mandatory child-safe training across providers and educators to give everyone in our early learning settings the tools to help keep children safe and to give parents the confidence that their children are safe.
Thank you, Minister. Senator McDonald.
My question is to the Minister for Industry and Innovation, Senator Ayres. With respect to your government's decision to bail out the Whyalla smelter, more recently the Nearstar smelters in Port Pirie and Hobart, why have you left workers at the Mount Isa copper smelter and Townsville refinery high and dry when the clock is ticking?
Thank you, Senator McDonald. Minister Ayres.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks, Senator McDonald, for that question. I'll make a few points about the two firms or enterprises that you referred to, and I'll come to, of course, to that very important facility in Mount Isa that is currently run by Glencore. That, of course, is an important venture itself, but there are a series of other very significant industrial ventures that rely upon the Mount Isa Mines copper facility that is run by Glencore. In terms of the Whyalla intervention that you refer to, it is very important that corporate Australia learn the right lesson from the Whyalla intervention. It is a very significant intervention, not just by the Commonwealth Government, led by the two governments, South Australia under Peter Malinauskas, that very fine Premier of South Australia, and the Albanese Labor government. And the outcome of that intervention is that Australian steel-making capability is protected, and the corporate entity that ran that facility, ran being a generous term, now no longer operates that facility. In terms of the progress that this government is making in relation to other smelters around the country, there have been no announcements in relation to Nearstar. We are working very closely with that firm, focused on the national interest, focused on the economic and social benefits, but in particular focused on the strategic benefits, particularly around critical minerals production in Australia.
Thank you, Minister Ayres. The time for answering has expired. Senator McDonald, first supplementary.
Given the gravity of the situation in Mount Isa and Townsville, will the federal government follow the Queensland government in putting forward a proposal to secure the future of the smelter and the refinery, and, of course, importantly, the thousands of jobs that are now at risk?
Great question.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator McDonald. Minister Ayres.
Well, I'm glad that you refer to the Queensland government, Senator McDonald. We have been, this government this government, working very closely with the Crisafulli government and Minister Dale Last. I just got off the phone from him a minute ago, actually, Senator McDonald. He's a very fine fella. I travelled recently after meeting with Premier Crisafulli with Minister Last to Mount Isa to meet with Glencore, to meet with the Mayor and community representatives in Mount Isa. We are very focused. We are very focused, not on pointing fingers at state governments, but at working in cooperation, with state governments, and they have been very engaged with Glencore.
Thank you, Minister. Senator McDonald, second supplementary.
It's reported that you'll be meeting with Glencore today. How many times have you met with Glencore before today's meeting?
Right. Thank you, Senator McDonald. Minister Ayres.
I'll come back to you if this is wrong, but at least twice, perhaps more than that, but at least twice. I did meet with representatives of Glencore again today and have been closely coordinating with colleagues in the Queensland Government about the approach that the Queensland Government has taken to that set of issues and engaging, of course, as you would expect, over a facility that is of this importance. I've got no trouble with timekeeping, Senator McDonald.
Order.
Very conscious of the importance of that facility for Mount Isa, for the region, for the copper industry, for the facilities that rely upon it, for the Queensland economy, in Australia's broader strategic and economic resilience national interest.
Thank you, Minister Ayres. Senator Roberts.
Thank you, President. My question is to Minister Watt, representing the Minister for Immigration. In July, the Australian Skills Quality Authority issued notices cancelling the qualifications of more than 4,200 foreign students, largely studying aged care and early childhood, after education provider SPES Education Proprietary Limited was deregistered for running a cash for diplomas operation scheme. In 2024, 23,000 foreign students were caught purchasing their qualification, which is a breach of Condition 8202, applying to all Class 500 student visa holders. In short, Minister Watt, these foreign students are in breach of their visa. Minister, will you cancel the visas of these 23,000 students and any others who cheated when purchasing their qualification?
Thank you, Senator Roberts. Minister Watt.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Roberts. While I understand that you prefer to ask these types of questions through the frame of migration, actually the matters that you're asking about probably more fit within the responsibilities of the Minister for Skills and Training, Minister Giles, but I do represent him here, and so I can still answer that question. We're very proud of the fact that we've reformed the compliance measures around international education to weed out the shonks who've been running international education operations and proliferated under the former coalition government. The international training system that was left behind by the Morrison government was not just a joke, it was crooked. And we had shonks and crooks, unfortunately, running these sorts of operations, exploiting international students who were here, taking money off them and providing them with dodgy qualifications that weren't fit for the kind of work that they then went on to do. So we are proud of those reforms, and as you say, Senator Roberts, it has resulted in thousands of qualifications being cancelled, as they should have been, because in some cases people were being awarded qualifications without doing any training or any study whatsoever. It was basically pay for a qualification and you got it. That's not how the system should work. It's how the system worked under the former coalition government, but it's not how the system works under this Labor government. So we make no apology for taking back the qualifications of people, students, so-called students, who have obtained qualifications through those means, and we make absolutely no apology for going after the shonks who were running those kind of organisations. They have no place in our system. They actually tarnish Australia's reputation as a provider of international education, and we'll continue to go after them.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Roberts, first supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. Under both Australian and Queensland law, a person who obtains a job using a faked qualification has committed 2 offences, using deception and forgery to obtain a financial advantage. Both carry a penalty of 7 years in jail. This is not just a foreign student breaching their student visa conditions. This is serious criminal behaviour. Minister, have you brought in so many foreign students and so many new arrivals that you have lost the ability to police clear-cut federal law?
Minister Wong.
President, I'd ask for you to consider whether that question is in order, given that it appears to go to a question about criminal provisions or offences under state legislation that clearly can't be in the portfolio responsibilities the minister representing.
Thank you, Senator Wong. Oh, Senator Roberts.
My question goes to the quality of immigrants that are being allowed into this country, turning out to be criminals.
Senator Roberts, you also referred to the qualifications or the penalties in the Queensland and Australian jurisdiction. Senator Scarr.
Sorry, President, point of order. Just speaking on the point of order, it is a fact that the Australian immigration legislation does cross-refer to state criminal legislation with respect to calibrating what is serious or not so serious criminal conduct. Right. So I just provide that for your assistance.
So, in response to your point of order, Senator Wong, the minister can answer the question to the extent that it goes to his portfolio or portfolios, to his areas, but I do remind everyone in the chamber it doesn't go to legal opinion. Minister Watt.
Thanks, President. Senator Roberts, I think we're all used to you and other One Nation senators asking questions that involve pejorative statements towards migrants, and it would appear that that's the intention for this term as well. That's a matter for you, how you decide to use your questions. What we're focused on—
Please resume your seat. Senator Roberts.
Under the imputation, President. I happen to be an immigrant.
There's no need for the added piece. Senator Roberts, order. 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 Senator Roberts, the minister was describing the language in which a question was asked. So it doesn't go to imputation. Minister Watt, please continue.
Thanks, President. But to answer your question, Senator Roberts, as I say, when the issue of fraudulent qualifications came to light, we took action. I was a little bit involved in this in my previous portfolio, and my recollection is that a very thorough search was done with employers who may have been employing the people involved. I'll come back to you if this is wrong, but my recollection is that there was not very much evidence, if at all, that people were being employed using those qualifications. As I say, if that's wrong, I'll come back to you. But we do take this matter seriously and we'll keep acting against it.
Senator Roberts, second supplementary.
Thank you. Foreign students can now bring family members with them, a prize for which many are clearly prepared to break the law. Deporting 27,200 crooked students and the thousands of family members they brought with them will free up thousands of homes and help ease the housing crisis and record homelessness that your government has caused through catastrophically high immigration. Minister, isn't it time we freed up homes for Australians who deserve them ahead of continuing to import criminals?
Minister Wong.
President, I'd ask you to consider whether the use of the adjective, which I would prefer not to repeat, about the students in that question is in order, because it suggests all I think it was a few 100,000, are in fact contravening, are on the wrong side of the law or whatever, and I do wonder if that's an appropriate inclusion in a question to a minister in this place.
Senator Roberts.
Senator Watt has already admitted that shonks are being weeded out. We want to get rid of them out of the country.
Senator Roberts, the minister was referring to providers of education. Minister Wong.
Well, on the point of order, that the fact that some people may have breached the law does not make an entire cohort in breach of the law, which
yes,
that is the implication with the clear statement in the question.
Senator Roberts.
We know 27,200 have breached the law.
Senator Roberts, you're not in a debate here. You've got a legitimate point of order or you haven't. I'm going to seek the advice of the clerk. So please, Senator Roberts, you can't. We're not in committee stage. This is question time. You ask a question, it gets ruled in and out of order if a point of order is raised, but you're not in a debate, and you're clearly not in a debate with me. Senator Roberts and Minister Wong, as is my usual practice, I am happy to review the language, but ultimately I would remind all senators that language used in questions is ultimately their responsibility and ultimately a reflection on them if there is some offence. So I will call Minister Watt.
Thanks, President, and thanks, Senator Roberts. Well, there are a number of assumptions in your question, and one of them is that those students who obtained fraudulent qualifications were working in the occupation that qualification was for. And as I say, I'm checking my records as to that situation, but I don't think you should necessarily make that assumption. It's one thing for someone to obtain a fraudulent qualification, and that is wrong. And as I say, we've taken action about that against the students by cancelling their qualifications, and also we've taken action against some of those shonky providers. But it's quite possible that those students may have obtained a qualification in a certain area but have been working in a completely different occupation. My recollection is that that is what the case was for those students, but I'm checking that matter, and as I say, if I've got anything further to add to that, then I'll advise the chamber.
Thank you, Minister Watt. Senator Darmanin.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Treasurer, Senator Gallagher. Senator Gallagher, the Albanese Labor government's first-term economic agenda focused on budget repair, providing targeted cost of living relief to support Australians, while reducing inflation and getting wages moving again. The Treasurer has spoken about the decades-long productivity challenge facing Australia and other developed countries around the world. What are the priorities for this government in its second term, and how will we continue to use the budget to support Australians?
Thank you, Senator Darmanin. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President. I thank Senator Darmanin for the question, and it's an important question. As outlined in that question, our focus on budget repair in the last term, providing that cost of living help in targeted ways that didn't add to the inflation challenge, getting wages moving again, was all part of our economic plan, and I'm really pleased to update the Senate that the final budget outcome for the 24-25 year, we are forecasting a deficit in the low double digits, which is around half of what we expected at budget time and about a quarter of what we inherited from those opposite when we came to government, showing our significant budget repair work is continuing to pay dividends. And that means that we have been able to find room to help families and households with those cost of living pressures. As the Treasurer has also said, productivity growth is well known to be a challenge facing Australia and indeed other economies. Our productivity problem hasn't been with us for a couple of years. It's been with us for a couple of decades. In fact, I can hear those opposite interjecting, so I'll take that, because it's important that they accept that the Coalition oversaw the worst decade of productivity growth in more than 60 years. We are having to deal with that challenge that they didn't deal with when they were in government. The 22 election coincided with the largest quarterly fall in productivity growth in almost half a century, another feature of the Morrison government at that time. Over the decade to 2020, average annual labour productivity growth in Australia was the slowest in 60 years, falling to just 1.1% compared to 1.8% over the 60 years to 2019-20. Now, we have—
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering
I've got plenty of time to—
Senator Darmanin, first supplementary.
Thank you for that answer and for your hard work in the significant budget repair that you've just started to outline for us. The Treasurer has made clear that driving productivity is a key focus of the second term for the Albanese Labor government. This will be a collective effort across the economy between government, business, the community sector and worker representatives. What is the government's plan to bring these groups together and to lead an effort to boost productivity in our economy?
Thank you, Senator Darmanin. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you very much, President. I thank Senator Darmanin for the supplementary. We have a 5-pillar productivity agenda that is also being reported on by the Productivity Commission around creating a more dynamic and resilient economy, investing in the net zero transformation, something that those opposites still don't accept. Building a skilled and adaptable workforce, harnessing data and digital technology and delivering quality care more efficiently. The Economic Reform Roundtable will take place from the 19th to the 21st of August, right here in Parliament House, and it will bring all parties together to build a consensus approach to improving productivity, enhancing economic resilience and strengthening budget sustainability. Because we, on this side of the chamber, do want a frank and welcome a frank conversation about the future of our economy. We want real talk about real reforms that will deliver real improvements to living standards and to the budget, and we're looking for cooperation and consensus over conflict and ideas over ideology.
The time has expired. Senator Darmanin, second supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. Could you just explain a bit further why is it important for the government to lead this discussion, and how are the many interested voices in this discussion being heard?
Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Darmanin for the supplementary. Well, the government accepts that we can't solve this problem alone. This will require a collective effort across the economy between government, business, the community sector and unions. And in a show of good faith, we've also invited the Coalition to attend, because we are making a genuine attempt to find common ground, not to re-prosecute the policy differences and arguments of the past. Now, I've seen some being optimistic about their attendance, others that are ridiculing it and calling it a talk fest, so I really do hope that their representative from the other place does attend with an offer to or the opportunity to engage cooperatively in those discussions. The government is looking forward to those discussions. There is much more to do, and we are wanting to work with all of those unions, community sector, government and business working together.
Thank you, Minister. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. I ask that further questions be placed on notice.